All right, ladies and gentlemen, come on up, come on up. We'll talk for about an hour how to increase sales opportunities without increasing headcount. And it's a little bit of a mysterious title, but I know it's possible. And we have three experts that come and help us. Mark, I always try to pronounce it the French way. Roberger.
It's actually probably right, but that's not how I say it.
How do you say it?
Roberge.
Roberge.
Yeah.
All right. Mark is the vice president of HubSpot, and we have Mike Damphouse. He's the founder and CEO of Green Leads. And Green Leads makes a lot of green, right?
Correct.
And Brian Dawson, he's the president and CEO of Teltron Technologies. Before we start our conversation, I'd like to ask Mark to give us a little bit of an overview of his company and how he increases sales without increasing headcount. Go ahead.
Thanks, guys. So, Gerhard asked that I just come up for about 7 minutes. I'm going to talk about three things in particular. First, I'm going to give you about 1 minute on what is HubSpot. I know I was up here earlier, and I got the question like 20 times, so I'll handle for it. I'm always happy to talk about it, but I know there's some curiosity around that. Also, Gerhard definitely wanted me to talk about our own Sales 2.0 architecture. So what are the different tools that we're using? How do we use them? I'm going to drill into that for a couple minutes. And then finally, the last part I'll talk about is 2 techniques we used on how to increase sales productivity without increasing headcount, which is why you're here to listen. So first off, I kind of gave it away with the survey that I asked earlier, not the who's hungry part, but instead the who has responded to cold calls and unsolicited emails versus done Google searches. So that's actually a thesis we did at MIT 5 years ago. We did it on the changing ways, and I think Annika spoke a little bit about it earlier, of how people buy and shop for products and services today, and how the internet has really transformed that. So that's not a surprise to any of you folks. I've actually done that survey to a room full of Harvard students. I've done it to doctors and lawyers. I've done it to software engineers. I've done it to CEOs, and the response is always the same. But what is really surprising, and where we extended the thesis we did to how people continue to sell and market, and how they really haven't transformed the way they've done that to align themselves with that buying pattern. So what I've listed here are the old techniques of advertising. Some people call it push marketing. Some people call it interruption-based marketing. And it just has lost its effectiveness in the last few years. And not only is it less effective, it's largely less effective because folks have become aggressive on blocking it out. So a lot of you probably don't watch TV commercials anymore. A lot of you probably have DVRs. A lot of you are probably on the do not call list. And there's rumors about a B2B do not call list. And imagine what that's going to do to a lot of our sales methodologies, right? So, and a lot of you probably receive unsolicited email every day. And if it makes it through the spam blocker, which you probably have running an email, you probably hit report spam, or you might even hit delete. So it's really just how do we rethink the way that we generate demand for our sales team is really the mission of inbound marketing. So we try to align ourselves. How do you get your brand found in search engines? How do you start a blog that has tens of thousands of prospects subscribed to it? How do you know the minute someone asks about your industry in social media? That's really what inbound marketing is, and that's what our software helps you to do. All right, that was the 1 minute part on that. Next is, what does our Sales 2.0 architecture look like? So it was really great to hear about some of the bigger companies out there like EMC that we learned about today. I learned a ton with that. I don't want to disappoint you, but ours is not honestly that complicated. We only use HubSpot and Salesforce and GoToMeeting in our own Sales 2.0 techniques. We've tested a couple of them, and I'm just not sure that we're ready for them yet, but this has worked out quite well for us so far. So in the upper left-hand portion, you'll see a couple tools that we have around search engine optimization. All of us blog. We have a very active blog. It's not just a marketing thing. The whole company blogs. Almost all of our salespeople have written a blog article for our blog. And it's gone really well. There's actually a blogging ranking system called the Ad Age 150. So the #1 blog in the world, the #2 blog, we're actually number 17 on that. So we put out a ton of content. We're putting out like 4 or 5 articles a day. And the thing I usually say to salespeople is, just think about the sales calls that you have every day. You probably get the same 15 questions every single time. Those are your blog articles. Don't write about your product. Don't write about your differentiation versus your competition. Write about the generic questions that people have about your space. And those serve as very good blog articles. We have tools around converting visitors to leads. We have tools, all of those leads filter down into a leads database where we do use lead scoring, and we use marketing automation around lead nurture and email marketing. We use our product for that stuff. On the sales side, which I think is most interesting for this group, we use Salesforce.com. Like a bunch of MIT nerds, we really hacked it up. Polly would probably kill us. We're probably not using it the way you should. But we kind of had our own sales process, and we hired an outside consultancy to come in and hack it up so that we can measure the things that we wanted to measure. Our Salesforce database talks to our marketing database in HubSpot, and they keep each other in sync. So I think that's a big problem that we've had a lot of people come to us on is, while our marketing team are sending them emails, these people are coming back to the website, and there's a whole bunch of valuable data over here, and then our sales team is calling those people and interacting with them and having meetings with them, and there's a bunch of data over here, and how do we hook them up? So that's one thing that we had to figure out technically is integrating those two so they talk to each other. So when that lead comes back to the website after I call them, that information automatically gets down to the salesperson. In fact, if I'm calling on a lead that I own in Salesforce, and that person comes back to our website, just hits our homepage, I get an email within 30 seconds that they're back on our site. And when we implemented that feature, our connect rate went through the roof because we could kind of know when people are thinking about our business. Vice versa, when a salesperson updates that lead to an opportunity and to a closed customer, Salesforce talks back to our leads database and updates all the marketing reports. So that's really the final piece here is the closed loop analytics. This basically allows us to get a kind of a sales funnel view of our entire marketing and sales process, right? So I can look each month and say, well, we got 17,000 visitors from organic traffic, and we got 1,000 leads, and we closed 49 customers. And I can measure sort of my lifetime value to customer ratio by the organic funnel. And I can compare that to the social media funnel, and I can compare that to our trade show funnel, and I can compare that to our cold calling funnel. And I can break it down by rep. On the organic side, I can break it down by word. And on the social media side, I can break it down by community. I think this is one of the key points that's relevant to our topic today, is how do you increase efficiency and profitability and productivity without increasing headcount? This particular analysis was key to our ability to do that. We're very fortunate to have a woman, Gail Goodman, on our board. She's the founder of Constant Contact, and she lives and breathes by this stuff. And she said a really great thing in our board meeting once. She said, your profit margin is something that you decide. Your LTV to CAC ratio is something that you decide today based on which one of these segments you decide to sell to. Because once we had this analysis done, our top segments within here had an LTV to CAC ratio of like 20-1. If we wanted a 21 LTV to CAC ratio, we could have just sold to those segments only. Now the problem is we would have had to get rid of a lot of our sales staff and kind of tweak things around, but philosophically that's what you're kind of evaluating. And you'll see that there would be some segments in here that are completely unprofitable. So now you have the analysis at your fingertips to actually get rid of those segments or optimize those segments so you know how to sell them better and just work on the ones that are most profitable.